Hi, I'm here to chat about what it means to build on children's thinking from a CGI perspective. Right, we're really thinking about the work that we do as teachers to grow our children's mathematical thinking, to build on their thinking so that they continue to extend their ideas and make progress and deepen their mathematical understandings. So just like with everything in CGI, the foundation is first getting to know students' thinking, right? That's why you've done a lot of intentional work around noticing and eliciting and attending to the details and learning about how strategies are connected. So all of this is important because the more you know about what your students know, right, in detailed and nuanced ways, the better situated you are to make instructional decisions that are actually going to be connected to their current thinking, right? The better your next problem that you're posing, choosing to pose, the number of choices you're using, the tools and representations that you might offer, right? The better situated you are to have those be connected to their current thinking and for you to support their sense making as they're, right, maybe trying on a new idea or engaging with something new. So in my CGI work with teachers, I'm always getting asked the question of how we build on kids' thinking and is it okay that I do this? So there's a little bit of a misunderstanding that we're never allowed to tell kids anything in CGI. And that comes from the fact that this is a big paradigm shift, right? That teaching from a CGI perspective is a 180 from right what most of us have been in the habit of doing, which is really telling kids first what to think and then trying to figure out like what they actually understand about what they told them. So we're doing something different. We have a different starting point where we create an open space to learn about kids thinking. And when we get to learn about kids thinking, we are so better situated to build on their thinking, right? So, of course, when we find out about their thinking, we're always thinking, what does it make sense for them to think about next? Where does it make sense for them to grow mathematically next? Megan Franke talks about this as nudging students' ideas, right? So, how might we offer a nudge that encourages kids to build on their thinking? And right, how might we create a nudge that we have a sense is pretty connected to what they're thinking right now and might encourage them to do some building. So we might offer a new tool, right? We might say, hey, can you try solving with these? We might offer to, if they did some really cool mental invented strategies, we might say, hey, can I write those down? Can I write that idea down? I might use some numbers and symbols and say, is this what you were thinking? Does this represent what you're thinking? We might say, hey, you did like a lot of great counting with all of those ones there. Can you tell me if there are any tens in there, right? To get them to think about tens or number relationships. We might have kids who love direct modeling and will just direct model by ones all day, all night. And maybe we think about offering a different problem type that and some number choices that really get them to think, well, if I had 38 and I just needed to get to 40, do I need a direct model or do am I just counting on 38, 39, 40? So I know those are some really quick examples. And I'd love to have more time to kind of think through with those ideas with you. But I wanted to get us to think about we're always in this position to offer some nudges, right? These are all potential nudges that we might offer, and we might have really, really good reasons for thinking, this is what you're doing right now. How might I grow your thinking next, right? We have really, really good intentions to do that, and we have kind of a variety of tools that we can draw from in order to build on kids' thinking. Um, the nudge doesn't always have to come from us. In fact, it often doesn't, right? Kids are picking up ideas from other students. So I know you've been doing a lot of intentional work in thinking about facilitating classroom discussions and getting specific ideas shared out, right? Getting kids to compare and connect and make connections right across their own strategies and others. Right, students are picking up ideas. If you're setting up classrooms where kids get to talk to each other, students are picking up ideas from each other, right? They're considering their ideas in relation to others. They're engaging in the reasoning of others. Students might be building on their own idea just by being asked to talk about their thinking, verbally or to communicate their thinking on paper or share their thinking with a partner, right? You have to think about your thinking in order to do these things. And you're potentially deepening and reflecting on your own ideas as you're doing so. So hopefully I'm helping you think about, right, the different kinds of opportunities that exist to build on kids' thinking, both when students are just like interacting with each other and when you're making thoughtful nudges to support them to make progress. One thing I want to caution is that we run the risk of taking over kids' thinking. And so I want us to be mindful that that's just something we should think about, right? So if I make a nudge, make an offering, offer a new idea, offer an extension, suddenly it could just be all about how I want you to think about it or how the textbook wants you to think about it. And when the textbook wants you to think about it, and how the textbook wants everybody to think about it all at the same time, right? All in a particular sequence. So, right, if it's no, then like it's no longer really connected to your students' thinking. Or maybe as teachers, we think it is because we see the connections, but students don't. And now you're in a situation where they're trying to use ideas that they don't really understand because they're supposed to. So I wanted to raise this as a caution. This doesn't mean we never nudge, because of course we have really great ideas about how to grow mathematically. But I just want us to be reflective about how the nudge is being taken up and what it's communicating to students. Are we inviting them to see that they're actually building on their own ideas? Do they see that they're the ones that actually are still in the driver's seat? Do they have ownership of these ideas? Do they really have an opportunity to make sense about around them? So, um, I think I will pause right there. I think I've given you a lot to think about, and I hope to continue to engage with you around building on children's thinking.